2000s really were the golden age of movies made for guys. We had Dodgeball, A True Underdog, Story Too Fast, Too Furious, and even the masterpiece, The Longest Yard. This movie was not just a box office hit, it also became one of the most memorable sports comedies of its era. But what happened to the cast in real life was nothing like the comedy and glory we saw on screen. Some of them spent years with scandal hanging over their heads. Some had their bodies wrecked by injuries and illness, and some went through public humiliation, family loss, even turns in life nobody would have expected when looking at them in this movie. So after 21 years, where are they now? Who changed the most, and whose name is the one that makes you sit up straight when you look back? And stick around till the end, because after all that, there are still 5 facts about this cast that are good enough to make you see the movie in a whole different way. Number 1. Adam Sandler as Paul Wrecking Crew. When The Longest Yard came out in 2005, Adam Sandler was 39 years old. By then, he was already a real box office star, not just some guy who got lucky on the way up. He was born in 1966, came out of Saturday Night Live, then slowly became one of the most reliable names in commercial comedy when it came to getting American audiences into theaters. And with this remake, he really was the perfect choice. The movie needed a face big enough to carry the whole story, familiar enough for male American audiences, and weathered enough to give Paul Crewe some real weight. The result was The Longest Yard opening with $47.6 million, which at the time was the biggest domestic opening of his career. That number alone tells you how famous Adam Sandler was at that moment. But the box office was only half the story. What makes Adam worth talking about all these years later is that he knows what it feels like to be looked down on. He had his place on SNL, then got pushed out of the show in 1995. Later on, Adam said that was a brutally painful career shock. Then years later, even after he was famous and making real money, he still never got genuine respect from critics. In 2012, he led the Razzie Awards with 11 nominations, while Jack and Jill got 12 nominations. To put it plainly, that was a period where Adam got dragged hard. And in the middle of all those career hits, he also went through a real personal loss. His father, Stanley Sandler, died of lung cancer in 2003, just 2 years before The Longest Yard came out. What I respect about Adam is that he never changed who he was just to beg for recognition. He stuck with his audience, stuck with his kind of comedy, and just kept moving forward quietly. In the end, time gave him the thing a lot of people never wanted to give him. In 2023, Adam got the Mark Twain Prize for American Humor. By 2025, Happy Gilmore 2 brought him right back to the memory lane that audience generation knows by heart. This year he is 60, still working steadily, still married to Jackie since 2003. People trashed him for a long time, but they never made him disappear. And that is why Adam Sandler's Paul Crewe is still standing strong in the audience's memory after 21 years. Number 2, Chris Rock as James Caretaker Farrell. In 2005, when The Longest Yard came out, Rock was right in the middle of the strongest stretch of his career. He was about 40 then. This year, he is 61. In that same year, Rock had The Longest Yard, voiced Madagascar, and got Everybody Hates Chris on the air. To be blunt, this was not some supporting actor standing next to Adam Sandler to fill space. This was a major name who was all over American pop culture. But Chris Rock has never had an easy life. He has talked about being badly bullied as a kid, both because he was small and because he was a black boy sent into an environment that was almost all white. Then came his personal life. Rock married Malak Compton in 1996, split in 2014, and finalized the divorce in 2016 after nearly 20 years together. After that, he publicly revealed something a lot of people never saw coming. In 2020, Rock was diagnosed with NVLD after 9 hours of cognitive testing, and he said he had to do about 7 hours of therapy every week. That is the most ironic part of Chris Rock. Then came the Oscars in 2022. That was not just a scandal anymore. That was public humiliation in front of the whole world. Reuters noted that Rock was almost silent for nearly a year, then finally answered with selective outrage in 2023. I think that is the part of Chris Rock that deserves the most respect. He did not go around whining about it. He swallowed it, held on to it, then turned it into material on stage exactly the way a real comedian does. It was not until 2025 that Rock returned to Vanity Fair's Oscar after party after staying away from that atmosphere for years. Number 3, Burt Reynolds is Coach Nate Scarborough. Burt Reynolds is the most unusual case in this whole cast because he was not just in the 2005 version. In the original from 1974, he was Paul Crewe. Then, in the remake, he switched over to Coach Nate Scarborough. That fact alone makes Burt Reynolds the direct link between the two generations of The Longest Yard. He was born in 1936, so when the 2005 version came out, he was 69. He died in 2018 at the age of 82. And by the time he did the remake, Burt was no longer at the top of the box office, but his name still carried a kind of weight the younger actors did not have. But the heaviest part of Burt's story was in the last years of his life. In 2009, Reuters reported that he openly talked about entering rehab to deal with painkiller dependence after back surgery. Before he had much time to recover in 2010, he had to go through a 5-bypass heart surgery. Then in 2011, ABC News reported that he was facing possible foreclosure on his Florida home over a mortgage loan, with the lender trying to recover about $1.2 million. Put simply, Burt Reynolds' final years looked nothing like the glamorous image a lot of people still had in their heads from the 70s and 80s. His body was failing, his money was slipping too. And that was the harshest part of his real life. What is impressive is that Burt stuck with the work almost to the very end. One of the last things he did before he died was rehearse lines for the role he had planned to play in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. He died on September 6th, 2018. To me, that is what makes Burt Reynolds most unforgettable on this list, not just because he was once the soul of the original, but because he was the kind of star who aged in a very real way. There was glory, there was decline, there was pain, there was debt, but he still refused to leave the business until his body would not let him stay anymore. Number 4, Nelly as Earl Megget. When The Longest Yard came out in 2005, Nelly was 31. This year he is 52. In the movie, he played Earl Megget, but with Nelly, the most important part of the story was never just that role. He came into the movie as a top-tier rap star of the early 2000s, a name American audiences already knew inside and out, from hits like Hot and Hera and Dilemma. But Nelly's life after that went in a much messier direction. In that same year, 2005, his sister Jackie Donahue died of leukemia, and Nelly later took in her 2 children. Then, in 2015, Reuters reported that he was arrested in Tennessee on drug-related charges after police stopped his tour bus. A year later, Forbes said the IRS hit him with a tax lien of more than $2.4 million. For Nelly, this was the point where the story stopped being about the image of a rap star. It started turning into a story about money, bad decisions, and the price of living too long inside fame without always being able to control everything around you. Then came the heaviest and most serious case of all. In 2017, Reuters reported that Nelly was arrested near Seattle after a woman accused him of sexually assaulting her on a tour bus. The AP later said Auburn police found probable cause of an assault, but prosecutors chose not to file charges because the accuser would not cooperate. The civil case later ended in a settlement, and even after that, the trouble still did not fully stop. In 2024, Nelly was arrested again in Missouri in a case involving suspected ecstasy. But by November that year, the Los Angeles Times reported that he would not face any charges. The strange thing is, Nelly still did not disappear, he did not retreat into the shadows, and he did not really do some big Hollywood-style redemption act either. He kept touring, kept pushing his brand forward, and in recent years his public image has leaned much more toward family. He and Ashanti secretly got married in late December 2023, then welcomed their first son together in July 2024. By June 2025, Peacock released Nelly and Ashanti We Belong Together. To me, that is what makes Nelly different from a lot of people on this list. He went from being the coolest guy in the prison crew to a real-life story full of trouble, then stepped into a new chapter that looks calmer and more family-centered. But the shadow of those stormy years is still sitting right there on his name. Number 5, James Cromwell as Warden Hazen. You remember Warden Hazen, that cold and controlling prison boss, right? When The Longest Yard came out, James Cromwell was 65. This year, he is 86. But for James Cromwell, this role was only a small piece of the picture. What matters a lot more is that he is the kind of actor who got more publicly known as he got older because of how he chose to live, not because of some Hollywood scandal. Cromwell was born in 1940, the son of director John Cromwell, who was blacklisted during the McCarthy era. For Cromwell, the turning point in his personal life did not start with a scandal. It started with belief. He said he went fully vegan on the second day of filming Babe after seeing the animals he had just worked with show up on the lunch table. From that point on, animal rights was not just something he talked about to make himself look good. It became the way he lived, and that way of living took him a long way. In 2017, the AP reported that Cromwell got 7 days in jail for refusing to pay a fine after a protest against a gas power plant in New York. That same year, he was also named in a case involving storming in and disrupting an orca show at SeaWorld. Then, in 2022, the AP reported again that he glued his hand to a Starbucks counter to protest the surcharge on plant-based milk. Put simply, James Cromwell does not just speak out. He goes into the street, gets arrested, goes to jail, then keeps doing it all over again. Number 6, William Fichtner as Captain Brian Knauer. William Fichtner is the kind of actor a lot of people cannot name right away, but the second they see his face, they know exactly who he is. In The Longest Yard, he played Captain Knauer, one of the most memorable villain faces on screen in the 2000s. When the movie came out, Fichtner was 49. This year he is 70. What is worth talking about is that he did not come up through the glamorous Hollywood route. Fichtner studied criminal justice at Farmingdale and then SUNY Brockport, and only because he needed an art class did he end up in an improv class, then eventually turn fully toward acting and go to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. That kind of beginning fits the image he would have later, no flash, no showing off, just quietly doing the work. With William Fichtner, the biggest thing is how steady his path has been. It took him years to really break into film, and it was not until around age 36 that all that persistence started paying off. From that point on, Fichtner became one of the most durable character actors on the American screen. The Longest Yard was just one link in his long run of roles from Heat, Black Hawk Down and Crash to Prison Break and Mom. He is the kind of actor who does not need one giant breakout role to live off pure glory. The good part is at 70, he still has not stopped. Recent public information shows that Fichtner keeps taking roles in Talamasca, joins Season 2 of Beef, and also appears in Lucky. In other words, he is still moving forward the exact same way he has for decades, not loud, no major scandal, and no need to turn himself into breaking news. Number 7, Terry Crews as Cheeseburger. Eddy. When The Longest Yard came out in 2005, Terry Crews was 37. This year he is 58. This is a special case because Terry did not come up through acting. He was a former NFL player, then later turned to the screen. For him, this movie was not just a fun little supporting role. Terry straight up said, "Adam Sandler gave me a career because The Longest Yard is what opened the door for a bunch more collaborations between the two of them after that. But the heaviest part of Terry Crews' story happened outside the movie. He and Rebecca have been married since 1989, and they have 5 children, including 1 child from Rebecca's previous relationship whom Terry raised as his own. The thing is that marriage almost fell apart at one point. Terry himself admitted to cheating and being addicted to porn, and he said that nearly destroyed his family. That might be the most shocking part because it completely shatters the image of the big, trustworthy man people loved. Then came the biggest public blow of all. In 2017, Terry Crews publicly accused Adam Bennett of groping him at a Hollywood party. The AP reported that the lawsuit was later settled in 2018. What makes this story heavy is not just that it happened. Now, Terry's story has moved into another chapter. Rebecca King Crews has just gone public with her 11-year battle, with Parkinson's officially diagnosed in 2015, after a long stretch of misdiagnoses. And before that, she had already gone through stage 1 breast cancer and a double mastectomy in 2020. The latest reports show Terry standing by his wife through this brutally hard period while he himself keeps going as the familiar host of America's Got Talent. To me, that is what makes Terry Crews memorable on this list. He looks like the kind of guy who would be the hardest to knock down. But his real life has been full of fractures, from addiction to a marriage under strain to humiliation in Hollywood to illness in the family. Number 8. Tracy Morgan as Miss Tucker. In 2014, Tracy Morgan almost was not here anymore to keep telling his story. The crash with a Walmart truck on the New Jersey Turnpike left him with a severe brain injury, multiple broken bones, and a coma, while his longtime friend and fellow comic Jimmy McNair was killed. Reuters reported that the truck driver had been awake for more than 28 hours before the crash. Going back to when The Longest Yard came out in 2005, Tracy Morgan was 37. This year, he is 58. His role as Miss Tucker in the movie was just a quick, memorable beat. But by then, Tracy was already a familiar face on American television thanks to Saturday Night Live, and not long after that, he would move into 30 Rock, the role that took him to a much bigger audience. In other words, Tracy did not walk into this movie as some unknown name. He already had his place. But Tracy's life has never been smooth. His father died of AIDS when Tracy was 19, and it was only after one of his close friends was murdered that he really threw himself into comedy as a way out. Then his health started falling apart early too. Tracy was diagnosed with diabetes back in 1996. By 2010, he had to get a kidney transplant, and he said there was a point when doctors warned him he could lose a leg if he did not get the disease under control. In 2011, he damaged his own image again when he got hit with major backlash over a homophobic comedy bit, and then had to publicly apologize to the gay and lesbian community. After the 2014 crash, Tracy did not disappear. Reuters reported that he returned to host Saturday Night Live in 2015, which was a huge milestone because before that, he had barely performed again since the day of the crash. And even now, his body still worries the public. In March 2025, Tracy had to leave a Knicks game after throwing up courtside, then said the cause was food poisoning. That is what makes Tracy Morgan memorable on this list. He puts laughter on screen so easily, but his real life has brushed right up against tragedy again and again, and he still came back to do the work. That is seriously impressive. Number 9, Bill Goldberg as Joey Battaglio. When The Longest Yard came out in 2005, Bill Goldberg was 39. This year, he is 60. In the movie, he played Joey Battaglio, and honestly, this is the kind of role that feels like it was practically made for Goldberg. But Goldberg's story is not really about the role. It is about the price his body has had to pay over decades. His football career ended in 1995 after a season-ending injury in 1994. So right from early on, Goldberg's path got forced in another direction by a body that was already breaking down, not because he randomly felt like switching careers for fun. After that, he moved into wrestling and made a living doing the exact thing that had already hurt him. Impact, and more impact. By 2025, while getting ready for his farewell match, Goldberg was still having to treat and train a body that was no longer the body he had in his prime. Newsweek reported that he admitted preparing for the retirement match was extremely hard at 58. Then after the final match on July 12, 2025, Goldberg himself said he broke his hand during the match. He also said it was the second longest match of his whole career. For a man who made his living by turning himself into the symbol of someone who could not be beaten, that is the most painful kind of tragedy. And Goldberg's ending was not smooth either. Just a few days after the retirement match, he publicly said he was less than thrilled with how WWE handled his farewell, especially that he did not get to fully have the final speech he wanted. That makes Goldberg's story feel even more brutally masculine. Not only did his body have to pay the debt, but even the ending he wanted was something he did not fully get. And if Goldberg is the story of a body worn down by the job all the way to the final match, then the last name on this list goes even darker, because it is not just about a body breaking down early, but also a personal life that once veered into a very sensitive place. Number 10, Stone Cold Steve Austin as Guard Dunham. If you had to pick one name to close out this list, Steve Austin is probably the one that hits the hardest. When The Longest Yard came out in 2005, he was 41. This year he is 62. In the movie, he played Guard Dunham. He was one of the biggest faces in WWE, and to this day, he is still tied to the company as an ambassador. In 2025, he and Bret Hart even received WWE's first Immortal Moment Award for their classic match at WrestleMania 13. But the most important part of Steve Austin's story is that his career ended a lot earlier than people expected. Austin has said very plainly that he retired because of neck and nerve issues. That was not some beautifully planned farewell. That was a body that had been worn down by the job to the point where it could not keep going the same way. After a few years of hunting, fishing, and basically slowing life down, Austin said he had to pull himself back up and move to Los Angeles to find another path. Put simply, the image of Stone Cold was hard as a rock, but the price he paid for it was real. And then there is an even darker part of his personal life. In 2002, the AP reported that Steve Austin pleaded no contest to an assault charge after an incident involving his then-wife, Deborah Marshall. The deal included 1 year of probation, a $1,000 fine, counseling for domestic violence, and 80 hours of community service. This is the part you cannot dodge when talking about Austin, because it is not a rumor or some side story. It is a stain that became part of his public record. For somebody whose image was built on masculinity, toughness, and rebellion to the point of becoming iconic, this is the part that makes Steve Austin's story much harder to talk about. Steve Austin has all three things that older male audiences usually react to the strongest: huge glory, a body broken early by the job, and a stretch of personal history that can never really be wiped clean. Some people grow old quietly. Steve Austin was never one of them. After those 10 names, maybe the clearest thing is that time does not spare anybody. But honestly, if you stop there, you still have not gotten to the most interesting part. Because behind the cast of The Longest Yard, there are a few things that are even stranger, even more interesting than that. Like those football scenes in the movie. The team on screen was not just a bunch of actors pretending to be players. Most of them were former NFL or Arena League players, and the whole group even had to go through a 2-week training camp before filming. So when you watch it again, you realize those hits do not feel fake at all. They have real weight to them. And speaking of perfect casting, Terry Crews also told a story that feels really satisfying to hear. Adam Sandler's the one who gave me a career. Terry said Sandler brought him into The Longest Yard, and from there the two of them went on to make 5 more movies together. And Terry Crews did not stop there. He even called The Longest Yard my revenge on the NFL. I love that line because you instantly get it. For Terry, this movie was not just a fun supporting role, it was a way to turn a bitter stretch of his football life into something he could put on screen and laugh at. Then there is Bill Goldberg, with a little detail that is kind of a shame in a very movie fan kind of way. Goldberg once said his favorite scene in the film got cut from the theatrical version. It sounds small, but it actually lands because it leaves you with that exact feeling that the audience thought they saw everything when really there was still one piece left behind. But my favorite fact is still Burt Reynolds, because this is not just some fun little cameo story. In the original 1974 version, Burt Reynolds himself was Paul Crewe. Then in the 2005 version, he came back as Coach Nate Scarborough. That is why Adam Sandler's version of The Longest Yard still has such a distinct feel to it. It did not just pull together a wild cast, it also knew how to connect the present straight back to the past, and Burt Reynolds was the most beautiful bridge that movie had. This movie is not just a masterpiece. It shows us that comedy and sports can come together at the highest level like this. And looking back at The Longest Yard after 21 years, maybe the most interesting thing is not just who aged how or who changed in what way, but the feeling that a whole era of Hollywood is still sitting right there in every one of those faces. Some people went through scandal, some went through illness, some carried an entire golden era with them and then quietly grew old in front of the audience. And what about you? Which name in this cast surprised you the most when you look back today? Who changed the most? And who makes you feel like time moved faster than you realized? Drop a comment because I really want to know which face brings back the most memories for you. And if you like these kinds of lookbacks, to subscribe to the channel because there are still a whole lot more movies ahead that we really should go back and revisit together.